Now we're at the Cook and Marquesas Islands. Now, due to the open outriggers used for ocean travel, some areas will remain rather remote. Now, as we see throughout Polynesian societies, these groups are using these enlarged outrigger canoes. We see the same thing today, where we see outrigger canoes frequently used up to 6 people. Today, they're generally used for racing or sort of cultural shows, but in the past, they've been used for practical reasons, and they're used because the outrigger gives you enough stability to fight against the ocean. This might be me in an outrigger that I own, leaving that aside. This results in distinct regional styles forming within the broader Polynesian style. Now, because of this massive ocean travel required to get from some of these islands to their nearest neighbors, you do see that element of remoteness, and we get an isolated society that may develop in a different direction than where we see other societies. And this brings us to Rarotonga. So, here, deity images with multiple figures attached are going to be very characteristic. They probably represent clan or district ancestors, and usually were used for protection or as a charm for procreation. The deity often is going to be central or play a central role in human fertility. In the 19th century, Christian missionaries will destroy the religion, and that's extremely common, that Christianity comes in and destroys the pagan faith and replaces it with Christianity. With many of these societies, you will find that there's still an old tradition that no one really understands today that will be replaced in some way, or a replacement in some way for their older pagan traditions. It's unfortunate, but Christian missionaries generally got to these islands before we see anthropologists and people who can really give us a great deal of detail about the old ways, the old culture, the old faith. And unfortunately, by the time those people did arrive, the oldest generation who was aware of them were frequently dying off. So what we're looking at is an image of the Staff God. And this may depict Tangaroa. Excuse my pronunciation. The head here is large in proportion to the body. The body resembles a spine with 7 figures attached. And here I've taken the same piece, and I've just turned it sideways so that we can get a better image to work with. Now, some of these figures are frontal, while others are composite. So as we look, we can tell, for example, that this figure, and you see him repeated, is actually frontal. So here's the face, here's the ear, the eye, the nose, the mouth, etc., facing us frontally, whereas this figure is composite, like you would expect from the Egyptians, for example. So the legs are facing us, the chest seems to be more or less facing us, but the head has been turned to look down the staff. And this is stylistic. We see the same ideas from, for example, the Egyptians, the Minoans, and other Mediterranean societies. This may represent the generations of humans the god created. Several of these forms will also feature erect penises, and this is probably tied to its role with reproduction and the continuation of the race, the idea of virility, one that we see in a lot of ancient societies. The idea being you cannot have procreation without virility, and that idea frequently gets tied to ideas of death as well, because you need the virility to go through the birthing process into the afterlife. Although here, The virility is very direct, since this may well be tied to human fertility.